those thinking of looting.
You can have people, bringing boats into some of these islands and trying to ransack people's homes. I can tell you, in the state of Florida, you never know what may be lurking behind somebody's home. And I would not want to chance that if I were you, given that we're a Second Amendment state.
Ian is now a post-tropical cyclone making its way through the Carolinas and Virginia. In the wake of Russian President Vladimir Putin annexing 4 sections of Ukraine, President Biden issued a warning to the Russian leader.
America and its allies are not going, let me emphasize this, are not going to be intimidated by Putin and his reckless words and threats. He's not going to scare us, and he doesn't or intimidate us.
Mr. Biden says his administration would support any effort by Ukraine to retake the annexed territories by force, setting the stage for further hostilities. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that his country would make an accelerated bid to join the NATO military alliance, a plan not endorsed by the U.S. or other allies that could add fuel to the fire. California Governor Gavin Newsom's called on state regulators to relax rules on oil refineries in an effort to lower soaring fuel prices. According to AAA, the average cost of a gallon of gas in California is $6.30. That's far above the national average of $3.80. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 500 points. More details at townhall.com.
This Prager here to share a product that can help keep everyone more healthy, Cofix RX. Most of us know that viruses of all types are a part of life. What we don't always know are the right products that could be protecting us. So I'd like to tell you about Cofix RX and its doctor-approved secret ingredient. As a safety measure, many doctors and nurses have been using iodine to swab their noses for decades. Iodine has been in use since 1811, and 96% of us are iodine deficient. Using Cofix RX antiviral nasal spray with povidone iodine is a smart way to stay healthy. Cofix RX is made right here in the USA. It's simple to use. You spray it up your nose, and the iodine destroys germs and pathogens where they multiply in the nasal cavity. Check out CofixRx.com. That's COFIXRX.com for a retailer near you, or use the coupon code Prager for 20% off at CofixRx.com.
Americans stepped up their spending in August, perhaps no surprise since everything's costing more.
Consumers boosted their spending at stores and for services like haircuts by 0.4% in August, after spending fell 0.2% in July. That's according to the Commerce Department. The government's report also shows that an inflation gauge that is closely watched by the Federal Reserve rose 0.3% last month. That was a faster pace than July's increase. Rich Thomason reporting.
Unpaid internships are facing new scrutiny from colleges and state lawmakers. Nearly half all internships are unpaid, putting them out of reach for students who need wages to keep up with their bills, even if the work has nothing to do with their intended careers. Many students say they can't afford to meet internship requirements. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Hi, this is Jennifer Coolidge. The American Heart Association says the disco song Stayin' Alive is the near-perfect beat for hands-only CPR. If you see a teen or adult collapse from cardiac arrest, you only need 2 steps to help save a life. Call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest to the beat of the song Stayin' Alive. Disco is back and it's saving lives. To learn more, go to heart.org/hands-only-CPR.
Nationally supported by the WellPoint Foundation.
Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is the Founders Federal High School Football Scoreboard on the Sports Talk Media Network. Coming up, scores and reports from across the state and analysis from David Shelton. The Scoreboard is brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders. Now your host for the High School Scoreboard, Phil Kornblut.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome in to the High School Football Scoreboard on a night when there's no high school football. But you know what? We're going to talk high school football, whether there are games tonight or not. I don't think there are any games being played tonight. If they are any games being played tonight, let us know. But there were plenty of games played on Wednesday night and plenty of games played on Thursday night. And there'll be a few games played on Monday night, all out of necessity because of the storm, Ian, that finally made it into South Carolina and I think has made its way through South Carolina. Probably a wise call by all to move up the games to Wednesday and Thursday because the rain was torrential throughout most of the state. Not so sure about the upstate, but I know Low Country, PD Grand Strand, Midlands. Midlands got hit very hard by the rain. It's probably a wise thing by everybody to play Wednesday, Thursday, and then even on Monday. So what are we going to do tonight? You're wondering, Corn, how are you going to talk about high school football games tonight when there were no high school football games? Well, we got plenty of scores. Certainly, you've been busy getting away from the storm, preparing for the storm, getting through the storm. Maybe you haven't been paying attention to high school football the last couple of days. Well, I have, but David Shelton really has, and David is joining us. We have the pleasure, with no games being played, we have the pleasure of having David Shelton with us for the full 2 hours tonight. And so he'll break it all down for us. We may have some of our reporters out, not in their fields tonight, but probably in their Barca loungers, giving us calls to recap their games from Wednesday and Thursday. Might even ring up a coach or two, though I'm not sure anybody wants to talk to us when they've got a free Friday night, right? They're probably doing some other things. Let's welcome in David Shelton of the High School Sports Report, the Charleston Post and Courier, best in business when it comes to covering high school football across the state of South Carolina. In Charleston is where he is. Man, how are you? Did you survive everything today?
Yeah, I did good.
What happened at your place?
We got a lot of rain, and we got 2 limbs down, and the street that I live on actually floods every time it rains, so it flooded a good bit today, but it's gone now. I drove through the neighborhood, went to the store earlier, and saw some trees down and such, but no power lines. Didn't lose electricity. A little flickering now and then. I just stayed indoors and worked all day. Just wrote a bunch of stories and did a bunch of stuff.
Very, very good. Well, before I start going over the scores, and we'll kind of break down some of the bigger games of the night in all parts of the state, but just generally speaking, Wednesday, Thursday, your takeaway from the games that were played, what jumped out at you the most?
Let's see. I would say Spartanburg beating Burns last night was a big win. I was interested to see how Burns would play after losing to West Florence the week before. And I also was one of those, and I'm sure there were plenty of people around the state that knew Spartanburg was pretty good. Their record was, I think 2-3, but they had lost to some really good teams. And I thought they were a pretty good team, and they came up with 5 turnovers last night, and they beat Burns. That was a big win. Another one in the upper part of the state, in the Rock Hill area, Catawba Ridge beating South Point was a very nice win for them, and that's 2 in a row for South Point that they've lost, and this was a region game. So Catawba Ridge really made a strong statement with a nice win. I think it was 21-7. They kind of pretty much dominated the football game throughout. And then I think another game of interest down in the PD area, Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand, West Florence. Or actually, there were 2. West Florence beating Myrtle Beach at Myrtle Beach by 4. To stay undefeated, and then South Florence staying undefeated with a win over Hartsville. All those 4 teams are in the same region, so we're going to see a lot of that stuff through the rest of the year, where they're beating up on each other. But South Florence and West Florence, they remain a really big story in the lower state, because both teams have had years where they've been pretty good. But I don't know if it's ever been where both teams were this good. Arguably in 4A, the top 2 teams, I think you got to throw Northwestern and AC Florida in that mix, but clearly in the lower state, South and West Florence are probably the two best teams in the state right now.
I mean, when's the last time you ever said that?
I don't think I've ever said that because, like I said, they both had good years. I mean, they both had seasons where they've been really good. You know, back in the Justin Watts days at South Florence, and then even a few years ago, I think they were undefeated through the regular season and got beat by Stratford in the playoffs. But to have both schools literally, I think, ranked number 1 and number 2 in 4A right there in the same city. You hear that a lot in places like Rock Hill and Spartanburg, maybe sometimes in Charleston back in the day, you know, with Somerville and Berkeley or whatever. But for the PD in Florence, you know, to have the two best teams in a classification, that's never happened.
That's going to be a wild, wild race in that particular region as the next few weeks play out and we head towards the playoffs. So let me start going through the scores. We'll start in the upstate, and then we'll talk more about each of the regions. When I say regions, I mean sections of the state. We'll do that as we go through the scores. So in the upstate, last couple of days, some played on Wednesday, some played on Thursday. Abbeville beat Liberty 41-7. Broome over Travelers Rest 30-21. You mentioned Catawba Ridge over South Point 21-7. Chapman over Carolina 42-0. Chester beat Woodruff 41-34. Christ Church 63. Asheville School, North Carolina 35. Clinton 61. Union County 7. Clover 35. Nation Ford 7. Daniel 56. Walhalla 14. Dorman 52. Boiling Springs 14. Emerald 27. Eastside 14. Greenwood 57. Berea 6. Indianland 28. York 21. J.O. Mann 14. Woodmont 7. Landrum 28. Chesney nothing. Lawrence 20. Greer 17. Louisville 16. C.A. Johnson nothing. McCormick 49. Ware Shoals 14. 96-24. Blacksburg 13. Northwestern 58. Lancaster 16. Pendleton 53. West Oak 6. Powdersville beat Belton Honeypath 47-32. Riverside 40. Wade Hampton 7. Seneca 38. Crescent 17. Southside Christian 48. Dixie nothing. Spartanburg 36. Burns 23. St. Joseph 62. Calhoun Falls 6. T.L. Hanna 35. Malden 26. Whitmire 48. Great Falls 30. And Wren beat Fountain Inn 49-7. Monday, you've got Easley and Pickens, Woodruff and Chester. Nope, I'm sorry, they played. I'm assuming these are Monday. Easley and Pickens, Palmetto and Southside. Hadn't seen any scores on those games. And Westside and Greenville High play on Monday night, which should be a heck of a football game. Unless you've heard any scores on these particular games, David. Did you ever see any scores on these games?
I don't know the score, but I thought I saw Easley won their game on Twitter. I don't know the score, but I think Easley played.
Okay.
And I think they beat Pickens.
That's an old rivalry game, Easley Pickens.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of schools about 10 miles apart?
I'm surprised Westside and Greenville didn't play, but I didn't know that game was moved to Monday also.
Yeah, I'll double check and see if I can find. I didn't see it the first go around checking various outlets and sources for that, but I'll double check and see if we can find it. So let's go back to these upstate scores, David. And the Catawba Ridge South Point game really jumped out at me. South Point got off to such a great start and looked so dominant. Were they as good as we thought they were early on, or is this more along their lines now, having lost a couple of games?
Well, I mean, I think obviously they weren't as good as we thought they might have been. But now they've lost to two good teams. I mean, South Florence is a really good. I mean, we just talked about South Florence. They're ranked number 1 in 4A, and Catawba Ridge is another top 10 team that has been building a program over the last few years, and they're really tough. I think South Point offensively is a little not there. I don't think they're there yet offensively. I think defensively they're okay, but I think they're still trying to piece together that offense, and they'll need to find that. I mean, they've got Northwestern coming up, towards the end of the year, and obviously in the playoffs you gotta score. You can't just rely on your defense, but it's hard to imagine them not being in the hunt. They just suffered a few losses. I think it's the way we've become with high school football. When one of these great powers lose a game or two, we wonder, like Myrtle Beach, they've lost 3 games. Oh my God, what has happened? Well, other teams have gotten better, and so again, I don't put a whole lot of stock in some of these early games. I really start paying attention now in October. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to really see the cream rise to the top. But again, that's a huge win for Catawba Ridge. There's no question.
You were right on the Easley Pickens game. Easley did win. Thank you, Bob Corlew, and thank you, J.P. Barry. Well, happy birthday, J.P. He turned 20 today. How about that? 20 years old, never been kissed, and glad he can celebrate his birthday with us here at the high school score. I couldn't think of a better way for a college student turning 20 to spend his birthday, David, that's stuck in here with us doing high school scores that are 2 days old.
Yeah, I don't even remember 20. I'm sure I was 20 at some point, but I don't remember it.
35-28 was the final. Easily, the Green Wave over the Blue Flame. Is there a better nickname in high school football than the Blue Flame?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty good one.
We just don't get to say it enough because Pickens, unfortunately, they haven't been all that good in a little while. We don't get to say Blue Flame all that much. Pick it up, Pickens, so we can talk about you a little bit more. All right, got to hit a break here on Sports Talk. We'll come back, talk about more of these ball games in just a moment. Don't go away.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. People often ask me, when should I start saving for college? And I always tell them, start today. September is College Savings Month, a great time to start saving for your child's education. Future Scholar makes it easy to open and manage your account online, and the plan offers options and benefits you won't find with a regular savings or investment account. So make this the month you go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. futurescholar.com.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
high school football scoreboard without any new high school scores, but we do have plenty of scores to talk about from the last couple of days, and also drop in a baseball score. It's that time of year you got to pay attention, really pay attention to baseball. Braves win, and they beat the Mets to forge a tie in the National League East. They won that game by a final of 5-1, and so the Braves are now even, make that 5-2. 5-2. Braves and Mets are now tied in the division. Yankees are playing Baltimore, and Aaron Judge probably not going to get another at bat tonight. He got walked again. He's still on 61 homers. Does not look like he'll get another shot at 62 tonight. David Shelton is with us. We're at the beginning of tonight's program and going over the scores from across the state from Wednesday and Thursday nights. Of course, the weather forcing everything to be moved up in high school football. Wise decision as things turned out, the way things played out weather-wise across the state today. And a few games will be played on Monday night. We have some folks who are going to be calling in to give us stories on the games that they covered either on Wednesday or Thursday. So let's do that, and then we'll talk more with David about more of these games. So, Chris Daring, is he first up? Okay. Give me a name here. Trevor? Yes. All right. Trevor covering the Spartanburg-Burns game the other night. That Spartanburg beat Burns in as what was somewhat of a surprise, I would say. Trevor, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Phil. How are you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing great. Thanks for calling in. Tell us about how that game played out, if you would.
I will. First of all, I want to say hey to David, and I love his program and what he does for high school kids across the state of South Carolina. Really appreciate you. That game, in the beginning, kind of started off slow for Spartanburg, but Burns jumped out early and got a touchdown quickly in that game, and Spartanburg, they kind of battled back and forth. The game just went back and forth. Spartanburg really won this game, in my opinion, off of the undisciplined actions of Burns and some of the turnovers that Burns had some bad turnovers during that game. And Burns, I thought, really played. They're a very good team, but they're undisciplined at times in the game where it really hurts them. They like to, I guess, chatter a lot with the other teams, and they get to pushing and shoving, and eventually the referees, they're not going to accept a lot of that going on. And they did some of that when they played West Florence. I saw some of that, but that kind of hurt them as well. But overall, I thought I left the game thinking I'm not sure which one was the better team, because Burns is pretty good. They're pretty good, but Spartanburg made the plays. I think they had a fumble that was a scoop and score, and an interception that was a scoop. That was a pick six. And with those kind of turnovers against a good team like Spartanburg, who they're a good team, but you just can't do that and expect to win the game.
Did they get hit with a bunch of personal foul penalties?
Well, yeah. Throughout the night, there are a few times where Burns defenders or offensive players would. I think I remember one play where there was a defensive back for Burns made a really good tackle for a loss, and I mean, he was standing over the guy and he was talking and jawing at him, and he turned towards the Spartanburg sideline and made gestures, and they flagged him. They flagged him, and those things you just can't do. And as a matter of fact, the Burns coaches had to come onto the field and get this young man and take him off of the field. But those kind of things, you just can't put up with. You made a good play, you got him for a loss, and just go back to the huddle. But I think that they need to clean those things up before they get into the playoffs. But yeah, that's pretty much how that game went. Spartanburg, like I said, is a pretty good team, and Burns, really good team, but just got to clean some of that stuff up.
Hey, sounds good, man. Any final thoughts?
I wanted to ask David. I get around the state with my job, and I see a lot of football games on my Fridays off in whatever part of the state I'm in. I'm interested to know if Zoltan Osborne is back for Fort Dorchester, because that's another game that I saw that I personally thought Fort Dorchester was at a real big disadvantage playing a wide receiver, a guy that didn't play quarterback, and Gaffney pulling it out late in the game. But just wanted to find out if he's actually back yet.
All right, have David answer that for you, and thank you very much, David. Can you answer the question?
Unknown, because they didn't play this week. I think they're thinking about playing Monday, and it's up in the air as to whether. I mean, they're not saying much. I know that he did have a shoulder injury, and he was not able to play against Gaffney. Where he's at in that recovery, they've had a little extra time. I don't know that he would have played had they played Wednesday or Thursday, but, a couple of days off, we'll see. But he's not 100%. We know that.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate the phone call. Keep in touch with us. I found that Southside score too, David, that I was looking for. And Southside beat Palmetto 25-21. Do you know, and I guess maybe it might be too soon for assessment to take place, but and fortunately for Charleston, the storm moved up the coast a little bit. But I know you had some heavy winds and the heavy rain. Did any high schools, stadiums, facilities suffer any damage that you know of from the storm?
Not that I've heard. I would be surprised if some got damaged to the point where they couldn't play in them. I mean, it was windy. We did have some gusts of 65, 70 miles an hour, but not of the sustained variety. I'm sure some of these stadiums, the trash cans got tossed around a good bit. There might be trash all over the place, but I have not heard of anywhere that there was that kind of damage that I've heard. So I guess we'll know a little more in the next day or so.
Okay. Let's see. Hang on, Chris Daring, and we'll get to you after the break. Don't want to squeeze you here in the next couple of minutes, so just relax, and we'll get back to you in just a moment.
He's relaxed.
You think he's really relaxed?
Oh, yeah. I worry about what he might do when he gets on the air.
Well, I mean, he's a veteran of many hurricanes, and so he knows how to, celebrate a hurricane as it passes, I guess, So we'll see. We'll see what he has to offer. He was at the River Bluff and White Knoll game, which was a big game in the Midlands. And River Bluff handed White Knoll their first loss of the season. So we'll get to him coming up in just a moment. Again, looking here at some of these scores from the upstate, and then we'll move to the Midlands and talk about those scores and have Chris talk about his game. How about Powdersville beating Belton Honeypath by 15, David? I mean, Powdersville, very good. BHP's been having a great season.
Yeah, that was a big game up in that area, and Powdersville made a good statement. They're going to be in that hunt. With the Clinton, with the guys from Clinton up there in that part of the state, they're going to be right there in that hunt.
Yeah,
in 3A.
Clinton, they won big. I'm sure they had a lot of yards running. If you can't stop the run when you play Clinton, you've really got no chance, do you?
Nope, you don't. You better score, and it's not that easy to score on Clinton either. So, if you're going to let them run up down the field, you better be prepared to get into the 40.
All right, hit a break here on the high school football scoreboard as we come to you live from Columbia on this Friday night. The storm has passed. High school football is still in the air on this Friday night here on the high school scoreboard, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor? Yes, I am. Yay! My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
With SRN News, I'm Tasha Stevens. Florida officials say the death toll from Hurricane Ian has surpassed 20. Confirmation of the deaths still underway. More than 1.4 million people currently without power. Florida's chief financial officer is warning people and businesses to beware of charity scams following the hurricane. Jimmy Petronas says those wanting to help should donate to the Florida Disaster Fund. Donations can be made at floridadisasterfund.org. Republican South Carolina Senator Tim Scott is asking residents to stay inside as Ian hits the state. The National Hurricane Center warns that dangerous storm surge, flash flooding, and the threat of high winds are still in place. Scott says around 200,000 people are without power. New York City Mayor Eric Adams still looking for places to stash illegal immigrants outside his so-called sanctuary city. He's working on a deal with a Norwegian cruise ship to house illegal immigrants in New York City waters for 6 months. This is SRN News.
I've been talking about the people at Stone Interiors from the very beginning. They did the incredible granite counters, the beautiful granite tabletop in my home. Our kitchen is our focal point of our house. The countertops are just gorgeous. When I talk about a local company with tremendous ethics, great workmanship, someone who sees a project through from start to finish, I'm describing Stone Interiors. So have you thought about some granite or marble countertops? What about a backsplash in your kitchen? You want to retile that bathroom? Did you know you can actually go online to stoneinteriors.com, go through their visualizer software, and design your whole kitchen, your whole bathroom project? It is so cool. If that's not for you and you want to visit their showroom, they'd love to have you come out and visit at Stone Interiors, or they can even come to you when it's convenient. For more than 20 years, Stone Interiors has done this thing the right way. Call them 461-8950 to make an appointment, or visit them at stoneinteriors.com. That's 461-8950 or stoneinteriors.com.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Fran Halloran here. Now listen closely to what I'm about to say. I'm a business owner, and many of you listening right now, you're business owners as well. The first rule in owning a business is this: don't waste money. I see business owners waste their marketing dollars all the time. Not me. I figured out a long time ago, 8 years ago to be exact, that spending my marketing dollars at the point was not only intentional, but extremely profitable as well. If you're a small business owner, you owe it to yourself to sit down with Kevin Cohen and ask him to create a custom marketing plan for your business. He's looking for folks just like you who believe in local to partner with him in 2022 and beyond. Trust me when I tell you, partnering with The Point works. You will see results and your marketing budget will no longer be wasted. Give Kev a call at 803-563-8558 and tell him the Money Coach sent you.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Walk to work, walk the dog, have the dog walk you, take a hike, take a bike, skate, dance, hop, jump, do the Humpty Hump, skip seconds, skip dessert, skip to my loo, don't skip breakfast, drink H2O, lower your sodium, raise the roof, shake your booty, stock up on vegetables, and don't forget to eat them. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Okay, we're back on the high school football scoreboard on this last Friday night of September. Full bore ahead now into region play, as we are already underway in region play. So the games take on additional meaning. Games played on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. And if all goes well, back to the Friday night schedule next Friday night, hopefully. Let's go over the scores in the Midlands, and then Chris Daring will join us to talk about games that the game he was at. He was at a really good game in the Midlands on one of these nights. I don't know if it was Wednesday or Thursday, but around the Midlands, we had some surprising scores. AC Flora, no surprise here, beat Westwood 40-14. Aiken 21, Airport 7, Barnwell 42, Edisto 6, Blackville Hilda 32, Hunter Connor Tyler 14, Blythewood 52, Fort Mill nothing, Brooklyn Casey 42, Orangeburg Wilkinson 7, Camden, are they back on track? Beat Lakewood 41-13, Chesterfield 36, North Central 30, Crestwood 26, Lake City 8, Denmark Oler 53, Ridge Spring Lunetta 37, Dreer gets a win for Corey Jenkins 33-20 over Swansea, Fairfield Central 41, Mid Carolina 20, Gilbert 48, Lower Richland 23, Lexington 25, Chapin 7, Newberry 56, Eau Claire nothing, North Augusta 24, South Aiken 20. How about this one? And we'll talk about this one with David coming up. Richland Northeast beat Irmo 20-14. It's got to be the biggest win for Richland Northeast in many, many years. Ridgeview over Lugoff Elgin 35-6. River Bluff over White Knoll 25-14. Saluda 42, Pillion nothing. Spring Valley knocked off Rock Hill 37-22. Strom Thurman 40, Batesburg Leesville nothing. Wade Hampton of Hampton 55, Ridgeland Hardyville 8, and Wagner Sally 41, Williston Elko 6. So let's welcome in Chris Deering, who was at the ball game. But we talked about River Bluff and White Knoll, two really good teams. River Bluff gets the win, Chris, and they had a guy do a heck of a job on the ground. Cooper Johns, 227 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's been pretty good all year, Phil, and he didn't do anything to change that last night. He had 2 long touchdown runs. The first time he touched the ball, he went 80 yards. So, that's a pretty good start to your night. And he sort of capped things at the end with a 27-yard touchdown run. And in between, he was really and truly, he was the difference maker for that game. I thought River Bluff sort of imposed their will in the second half and created a couple of turnovers on defense and turned those into points on offense and got behind Cooper Johns, and he did his thing. He's over 1,000 yards for the season now. So just a really good performance for River Bluff. They were coming off that loss to Dorman a week ago, so they wanted to get back on track. And like you mentioned, region play is starting, so it means a little bit more right now. And this is going to be a really competitive region, and it's good. Every win is going to mean something for playoff seeding.
Oh, no question about it. And so White Knoll suffers their first loss of the season. And, were they for real in terms of being an unbeaten team at that point? Or was, again, sometimes, as David has pointed out, you can have an unbeaten record going into region play, but, you've built that on cupcakes. Not saying that's the case here with White Knoll. Were they a legitimate unbeaten team going into this game?
I do think they were a legitimate unbeaten team. I know this week in the prep poll, we did have them ranked number 4. Me personally, I did not have them quite that high. I thought that was a little bit high. But I still think they might be one of the top 10 teams in the state in 5A. Their defense is really good. They're still, this White Knoll team is young. I think a lot of people don't realize this. Very few seniors on this roster. He's playing a lot of juniors and sophomores. And that defense is good, gets after it. Coming into last night, they were only allowing 120 yards rushing a game. And like I say, Cooper Johns and that offensive line for River Bluff, like I said, they sort of imposed their will in the second half and took control of that. So I'm sure Nick Phelan would get them straight, but they got to get prepared for Dutch Fork next week now. So that's not getting easier. And I think that's going to be a really interesting game too, because we will see at that point if these teams in the region, if they've closed the gap a little bit on Dutch Fork, or is it still Dutch Fork and everybody else playing for second? So that'll be an interesting contest next weekend, I think.
Well, what is your hunch on that?
I think the gap's been closed a little bit. I don't know how much, but we, like I said, they will play White Knoll, Lexington, and River Bluff, and that's three teams that all three of them have been in the top 10 at some point this year. At this point of the game, all three of them have one loss. Like I said, River Bluff lost to Dorman, White Knoll lost to River Bluff, and Lexington lost in the first week of the season to West Florence. So that's not that's a pretty good team in the 4A ranks right there. So I think all three of these teams are legit. They all run the football very well, and they're getting steady quarterback play. Nothing spectacular, but they're running. They all hang their hat on running the football. Speaking of that Lexington team, they have another kid, Jonah Norris. He's gone over 1,000 yards for the season. So you get the 1,000 yards and gain 6 or 7. You're doing pretty good. So the thing that I think Dutch Fork has got to figure out at this stage of the game is their quarterback situation. They've had injuries, so it's not been really performance based. It's been injuries, and the game last week against St. Francis, I think they had 5 guys line up at quarterback. They ran the Wildcat a couple of times with Jarvis Green and Landon Danley. So if they can get healthy at quarterback, it might make a difference. But right now, really and truly, they're a running football team, and the threat of the pass is not really there for them.
David Shelton, you agree with Chris that maybe the gap is closing some in the Midlands on Dutch Fork?
Well, I think it definitely has, due to the quarterback situation at Dutch Fork. If they become very one-dimensional, they've been getting away with it with some of the teams they played. But I tell you what's interesting about this region, and Chris alluded to it. You got Jarvis Green, Norris, and Cooper Johns all in the same region, and that's 3 of the top, I would say, 7 or 8 running backs in the state are all in the same region. So, in this age of spread them out, throw it all over the field, that region has sort of become, the black and blue grind it out, ground and pound region because of the 3 backs and the offensive lines that all 3 teams have.
Interesting. Who would have ever thought, Chris, that, here's Dutch Fork. They attract quarterbacks like sugar attracts flies. And who would thought they'd be caught with their pants down, so to speak, at the quarterback situation because of injuries? I know they had the young man that transferred in from Wilmington a couple of years ago, and they kind of brought him along, and I guess maybe hoping he would be the guy, but he's been a little banged up, and I guess they just didn't have anybody, any one guy ready to turn to at that point.
Yeah, they had Appler kid, as you just talked about, that transferred in, and had another transfer in, I think, from Vermont or somewhere up north. He played a lot in that St. Francis game, but both Appler, I think they didn't want to throw him a lot because of his injury, and the other kid, I believe, is a little bit more of a runner than he is a thrower. So yeah, it's a different dynamic for this Dutch Fork team, and like David just said, Jarvis Green is one of the best in the state. I've watched him for 3 years now. He was banged up earlier in the year. I did talk to him before the St. Francis game. He says he's ready to go now. He knows this is his last 2 months of high school football, so he's ready to finish out strong. And again, Jarvis Green is a great kid all around. He's plays basketball for that Dutch Fork program, and he's just been a great guy to know over the years. And curious to see where he ends up in college. I got some thoughts on that, but I don't want to put it out there right now. But I hope, he's one of the kids that you almost have to pull for when you get to know him.
Hey, my friend, thank you. I guess you've had a long day of us, relaxing and enjoying I don't want to make light of the hurricane or the storm. I'm definitely not making light of it, but some people deal with hurricanes differently than other people do. Of course, it really wasn't a hurricane by the time it reached whatever was left of it reached Columbia.
Yeah, it was a little weird. The company I work for full time during the day, we had to close today. And really and truly, it wasn't because of the hurricane. I guess it was. We lost our internet and power, and so we really couldn't operate. So, it was sort of a day just hanging around. I had to wait to call you guys. I had to watch the end of the Braves game.
Understand.
So, but yeah, it's been a little bit different day. I almost don't even know what day it is anymore because it's been a weird week with all the changes in the high school schedule. And, I mentioned earlier today with going to a game last night, it almost felt like I should be watching college football today and wasn't anything on until Houston and Tulane game on a little bit earlier.
Now, you got Washington and UCLA right now. But you're like me. I was at the USC game last night and doing the show prior to. And I'm like, okay, we had high school football Wednesday night. So this feels like a Friday. But I'm going to a college game. So it feels like a Saturday. But we've got more high school football tonight. So it feels like a Friday again. So I'm like you. My head was all scrambled.
Yeah. We'll get back on track next week. We're old, Phil. It's hard to keep everything straight.
Only David Shelton is sane among us.
Well, that's saying a lot.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks. Y'all have a great weekend.
All right. Chris Deering from the Prep Red Zone joining us here on the high school scoreboard. Before we hit the break, David, I want you to address Richland Northeast beating Irmo. And I said a moment ago, got to be one of their biggest wins in a number of years since they were a power and gone through some coaching changes and all that. Opened up an on-campus stadium a couple of years ago, beat Irmo. And Will Wilson, the quarterback, the coach's son, had a big game. He scored late on a touchdown run. I mean, what can this mean for this Cavalier program as they continue to move ahead and strive for success under Walt Wilson?
Well, it definitely was a surprise to me. I mean, now Walt has really got Richland Northeast kind of turned around, and they're a much more competitive team than they have been. That started a little bit last year when they won a few games, but I did not see I did not see Richland Northeast beating Irmo, who's playing very well this year. Irmo's got to get it back. They got to get back on track if they're going to be a serious player in the postseason. But you can't take anything away from Richland Northeast. I didn't see the game, but I heard it wasn't a fluke that Richland Northeast deserved to win the game. And good for them. That's what makes high school football so much fun.
Yeah, Wilson had a heck of a game. He scored late, a touchdown late on the run to win the game. That was the winning points. 9 of 13, 117 yards, also 169 yards rushing. He's he's young, good ball player. He's young. Irmo also has a coach's son at quarterback, and he's young, and he's good. So that's good for high school football in the Midland. Maybe one of those will end up transferring to Dutch Fork and solve their problems next year. I'm just kidding. We'll be back after the break.
Founders Federal Credit Union knows your life is busy and your money is important. We are proud to offer local personalized services and convenient online services like Founders Online and the Founders app. You'll love being with us as much as we love serving you. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership with Founders. Relax, win with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. People often ask me, when should I start saving for college? And I always tell them, start today. September is College Savings Month, a great time to start saving for your child's education. Future Scholar makes it easy to open and manage your account online, and the plan offers options and benefits you won't find with a regular savings or investment account. So make this the month you go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. Futurescholar.com.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef. It's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
All right, if you're listening to us tonight, we certainly appreciate it because that means you love high school football, and you'll talk about it even when there are no live games being played on a particular Friday night. This is one of those odd nights. Now we've had weeks going back to COVID where we had no games in a week, right? And I think, David, going back to some other hurricanes, we had entire weeks washed out where I don't think we did a show because of the hurricanes and had no games. I think we've had that over the 30 some odd years we've done the show, but this one feels a little weird tonight.
Yeah, I going back to what you and Chris were talking about, I thought today was Saturday all damn day. I'm trying to get work done so I can watch the Clemson NC State game. And when you text me about 5:30 and said, "Hey, I'll call you for the show tonight," I was like, "Oh crap, it's Friday!" Like it was a really weird day because normally on Fridays I don't work very much. I take a nap, I go to a game, all that. I didn't do any of that today. I just worked on writing some stories, and literally I was trying to get done by 8:00 so I could watch the Clemson NC State game, and then you text me, and I was like, "Well, crap!
It's just
I got
Friday.
till 10:00."
Believe me, I've been thinking about it all day too. All right, let's go to the PD Grand Strand. These games played either Wednesday, Thursday. Andrew Jackson, big over Sherraw, 77-20. Central beat Buford 21-7. Dillon knocks off Loris. That was a big game, and Dillon wins it big, 41-14. East Clarendon 35, Hemingway 16. Gray Collegiate, no mercy on Columbia High, 70-0. Johnsonville edges Carver's Bay. Heck of a game here, 21-20. Lamar 39, Latta 8. What's not been reported is Latta was driving as time expired. Lee Central 26, Mullins 6, Manning 26, Ainer 16, Marlboro County 35, Darlington 13, Silver Bluff 49, Fox Creek nothing. South Florence beat Hartsville 33-28. St. James over Conway. Got to talk about this St. James team a little bit. 34-6 the final. Sumter all over Socastee 35-7. Waccamaw 42, Georgetown 31. West Florence knocks off Myrtle Beach 25-21, and Wilson, can't forget them, Wilson over North Myrtle 42-9. So in the PD Grand Strand, David, a lot of intrigue with those Florence teams winning, and we can't forget Wilson. So the three Florence teams winning. St. James, they've come on this year. They're having a heck of a year. Johnsonville edging out Carver's Bay. Dillon continuing to do its thing, this time against Loris. There's a lot of storylines there in the PD Grand Strand.
Yeah, a lot of good football being played. You know, Johnsonville will probably move up to the number one spot in the next poll because Bamberg Earhart lost. So the Flashes are undefeated. They're winning some close games lately. They haven't, they've had two tough ones back to back, but they found a way to win them. That Dillon win over Loris was big because Loris is really the only team that'll threaten them in that region. And so that was a huge game for both those teams. And like you said, Wilson, Wilson is kind of in that area where nobody's really talking about them because of the two Florence schools and Hartsville and Myrtle Beach. But Wilson's putting together a pretty good run here, and they got some teams, they got some guys that can score. They can put some points on the board, so they're not going to be an easy out in that region.
Tell me about St. James, the Sharks.
Well, I mean, that was a good win for them last night, but they've also lost a couple of games. They lost to Philip Simmons, they lost to Stratford, they lost to Ashley Ridge. I mean, they don't have a winning record, but I think last night was a good win for them because it is a Conway. That's a school they've had a hard time beating over the years. So to get over that hump is pretty big for those guys.
I think I should also point out this Manning win over Ainer, 26-16. Does that have some meaning? Because Ainer was looking pretty good. And Manning, what about them? Is this a significant win for them, for the Monarchs?
Yeah, that's a good win for them because, that region right now is dictated by Camden. So Ainer Manning will have that ahead of them. Crestwood's still pretty good in that region as well. So, but that's a good win for Manning because they kind of struggled. They've won some games this year, but in the last few years under Reggie Kennedy, they've really kind of struggled. But that's a good win because Ainer is a pretty quality team out of that other region over there.
All right, let's go to the Low Country. Battery Creek 40, North Charleston 24, Beaufort 34, Philip Simmons 14, Bluffton field goal at the end beat Hilton Head 35-32, Cane Bay 36, Wando 15, Cross 44, St. John 6, Estill 40, Bamberg Earhart 6, James Island 49, Colleton County 6. May River 49, Lucy Beckham 14, Oceanside 42, Lake Marion 8, Somerville 20, Stratford 3, Timberland 6, Bishop England nothing, West Ashley 53, Stall 6, Well Branch 37, Bethune-Bowman 18, and Woodland beat Hanahan 42-35. What's going on with that Hanahan situation since Art Craig was deposed, I guess, a few weeks ago, and this loss to Woodland? I mean, what's happening with that program?
Well, I mean, they're still pretty good. Woodland's got a pretty good team. I was at that game. They've got a good quarterback and good running backs and that big offensive line. They got Cam Pringle, but they got some other big dudes on that offensive line. But Hanahan hasn't been quite the same. They had to rally They had to rally from 2 touchdowns down to beat Timberland right after the Art Craig situation, and then they beat Porter-Gaud last week, which is a game they should have won. But they're going to have to put it together because, they've got Philip Simmons and Beaufort coming up. And if they're not careful, they'll end up third in that region.
Somerville. I hate to put it this way, but, I mean, are they kind of sneaking up on some people down there? Another great defensive outing against Stratford, 20-3. What do you think? It's hard for the Green Wave to quote-unquote sneak up on people because of their history. But what about this team?
Well, I think this is the best team they've had in 3 years since Ian Rafferty became the head coach. The COVID year was a tough year. And then last year, I think they won 4 or 5 games. Well, this is their best team. They've got a capable quarterback. They've got two really good receivers on the outside. They got two really good running backs. They got a power guy and a speed guy. Their defense is very aggressive and physical, good secondary. I know they lost to Sumter, but I'm telling you, in the lower state 5A, I don't know that there is a dominant team. And I think Somerville can be in that mix come November. I definitely think they've got the making of an extended deep run into the playoffs.
Okay, top of the hour coming up. We'll go over the Skeeza scores. Monty Dutton is standing by to tell us more about how Clinton won again when they played this week, and they won handily once again, and I'm sure they ran for 5,000 yards over Union County. So we'll talk to the full Monty on Clinton coming up after the top of the hour break. More from David Shelton, and who knows who else we might hear from in the next hour. Don't go away. We'll be back.
Local in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Columbia's local talk radio experience. 107 The Point. Make thepointradio.com. The Point. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Tasha Stevens. In the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, authorities in Florida are surveying the storm damage. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis tells WFSU-TV some people are going to need substantial help.
You got homes just washing away, destroyed, yes, but like sometimes these things, you see the home and it was some of these things just disappeared. And so there's a lot of people that are going to need a lot of help. FEMA has individual assistance for this community, which is important, but they're only allowed to do certain things.
Florida Division of Emergency Management Director Kevin Guthrie says responders have focused so far on hasty searches aimed at emergency rescues and initial assessments, which will be followed by 2 additional waves of searches. Ian is now a post-tropical cyclone after hitting South Carolina as a Category 2 hurricane. Florida's chief financial officer is warning people and businesses to beware of charity scams following the storm. Jimmy Petronas says those wanting to help should donate to the Florida Disaster Fund. Donations can be made at floridadisasterfund.org. The House passes a short-term government funding patch, sending the measure to President Biden hours before a midnight shutdown.
The House cleared the measure in a 230 to 201 vote, funding the government through the midterm elections until December 16th and providing billions in additional Ukraine aid and disaster relief. Most Republicans oppose the bill. Congressman Ben Cline of Virginia.
Paychecks are declining in value, but Democrats continue to fund these out-of-touch policies with billions of taxpayer dollars from hardworking Americans.
Congressman Bob Good, also of Virginia, agrees.
We should not fund a government that is allowing an invasion across our southern border and is giving hundreds of millions of dollars to the countries that are facilitating that.
Bernie Bennett, Washington.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams still looking for places to stash illegal immigrants outside his so-called sanctuary city. He's working on a deal with a Norwegian cruise ship. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold, the highest-rated precious metals firm in the country. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
More calls have been made by hardliners in Iran to take action against well-known figures who've expressed support for last week's mass protest.
As the protests have spread across Iran over the past 2 weeks, a number of celebrities from the worlds of sport and culture have taken the risk of publicly declaring their support. They're not only putting their careers on the line, but their freedom. Several have been arrested for speaking out, but hardliners want even firmer action. One MP, Mohammad Reza Mutaj Ardini, has called for what he describes as a new revolutionary cleansing to deal with those who become famous in the Islamic Republic, but who, according to him, are traitors.
BBC correspondent Sebastian Usher reporting up to 19 people, including a commander in the paramilitary Revolutionary Guard, have been killed in an attack by armed separatists on a police base in the eastern city of Zahenan. It's not known if the attack was related to the mass demonstrations. News and analysis at townhall.com.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
What can I possibly do to make this stressful time a little better? Here's one thing I found. It's a small thing, a simple thing, a remarkable thing. Smile. You can share a smile from more than 6 feet apart. You can share it socially with the whole world. In fact, right now, I'm smiling at you. And I hope you're smiling back, because smiling is in you. From PassItOn.com.
Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
the Founders Federal High School Football Scoreboard on the Sports Talk Media Network. Coming up, scores and reports from across the state and analysis from David Shelton. The Scoreboard is brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders. Now your host for the High School Scoreboard, Phil Kornblut.
All right, we continue. Boy, it's a fast hour. Fast hour with no fresh scores to talk about. But when you got David Shelton to fill airtime, you can just sit back. He's the Cadillac. He's the Mercedes-Benz. He is the Maserati of high school football analysis and reporting. And we have him here on the High School Football Scoreboard. He's down in the Low Country, survived yet another hurricane. How many hurricanes is that for you, David, that you've gone through?
I don't know. A dozen. I don't know. It's been nothing beats Hugo though, boy. Hugo was. I tweeted about that earlier this week. I'll never forget that because my wife was 6 months pregnant with my daughter, and we already had a small child, and during the eye of Hugo, we left my parents' house and went to her aunt's house. So we drove about 6 miles with trees all over the road. My wife having Braxton Hicks, breathing, doing that number all the way there. And I'm thinking, good Lord, it cannot get any worse than this. But we made it through. And then when my daughter was born, it was during the big snowstorm of '89. And so, my daughter, that's why I call her Hurricane Megan, because she definitely made my life pretty tough before she came into this world.
If I'm not mistaken, now I'm no gynecologist or anything like that, never played one on television. But I think I heard one time, like a lot of women who were pregnant and kind of late in their pregnancy, like when the hurricane goes through, it like changes the pressure or something. It could cause you to go into labor or something like that. Did you ever hear that?
I could see where the barometric pressure would get so low in those storms, but I don't know how that affects the uterus. But
oh God! All right, we're getting off target here.
I mean, you brought it up.
All right, we need Monty Dutton. Only Monty Dutton would probably know the answer to that particular question, but I'm not going to pose it to him in case his mind is elsewhere. The full Monty on the Clinton 61-7 win over Union County the other night. Monty, welcome in. Appreciate you joining us. And Red Devils had it rolling big the other night, huh?
Well, it's been a weird week, and it was a weird game, and I couldn't possibly top David Shelton, and as a matter of fact, Stephen Tolbert is not going to top the lead in here tonight. But this is a great opportunity because usually I'm driving home in traffic trying to remember what's happened and that. And so I've got the stat sheet in front of me. But oddly enough, it was a really strange game because the biggest development for Clinton, by the way, is not offense, but it's defense, because they've given up a ton of yards against South Aiken. And last night they gave up 0 first downs in the first half and 30 yards and 3 first downs in the game. And the second half was run with the clock running, and it was 35-0 at the end of the first quarter and 47-0 at halftime. And then Bryson James, Clinton's do-everything player, returned the second half kickoff for a touchdown. So it's 54-0, 12 seconds into the third quarter. And I'll tell you who's the person that deserves some nice comments. Is at the beginning of the game, Union's punter won Trenton Horn. His first punt was 20 yards. He didn't have his second punt. He didn't do it because not only it was not blocked, Bryson James clobbered him, and his helmet went one way and the ball went the other on his second punt. And his third punt was blocked in return for a touchdown. And then he got off another 20-yarder. So it was a tough night because mostly it wasn't a bad snap. That kid had a rough night. And Clinton had 11 different players run the ball. and they had three different Copeland score touchdowns of a possible 5. And it was and actually Clinton didn't have that much offense, 291 yards, because with the second half clock running, they just didn't have enough time. But it was not a big home game for the Union County Yellow Jackets, and it was Clinton was about as overpowering as they could be. But as I said, when they get somewhere deep in the playoffs, they're going to come up against somebody that slows them down, and it's going to be helpful for them to be able to slow someone else down. And so Clinton's defense was almost complete. I mean, they completely stopped it. And Union had the guy who plays quarterback for them was a wide receiver. They've lost their quarterback, and I wouldn't wish that game last night on anybody. So I have some sympathy for their plight. But Clinton was just absolutely overpowering. As I said, Union couldn't get a punt off, and then when it was 47-0 at half, and Clinton ran the second half kickoff. But someone ought to pay attention to Bryson James, because he is perhaps Clinton's best offense and defensive player. And I've noticed that when I'm looking at all the pictures I've taken of the game, it's hard to find one that he's not in. So he really is a really good all-around player who do anything but throw the ball.
Monty, we really appreciate it. Great job as always. Who does Clinton have coming up next week?
Clinton is taking on the Fighting Dates of Open next week. But they play Woodruff the week after. So I'm actually looking forward, because Lawrence pulled what I thought was an upset by beating Greer last night. So I'm looking. Lawrence could be one of those teams that by beating Greer, they're in position. Next week they play Riverside, and that's going to be. But I mean, they could be a team that's 1-5 and could win the region. So I'm interested. I'm looking forward to seeing Darrell Smith's Lawrence team next week.
Excellent. Thank you, Monty. Look for you next week.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you much. All right, Monty Dutton. Monty Dutton joining us here on the high school scoreboard. A drop in barometric pressure is correlated with premature labor and ruptured membranes.
Well, I'll be darned.
I'm reading that here. That's just the first. Now, there's probably something in the story that probably disputes that a little bit, but that's just.
I can't believe that you actually Googled that during the report.
Well, it was a blowout game, so it was a blowout. It was a blowout game, and I had to spend my time doing something else there. So we are.
Well, that would explain. Yeah. That would explain why my wife was having those problems. I did not know that. But, I mean, my daughter's 31 years old, or 32, whatever. So I finally learned.
I had heard that, and this gave me the perfect opportunity to apply that knowledge. So thank you for that opening. Let me give you the SCISA scores that we've got in from the last couple of nights. Buford Academy beat Palmetto Christian 48-6. Ben Lippen 45. New Hope 6. Calhoun Academy 30. Andrew Jackson Academy 14. Cardinal Newman 69. John Paul II 40. Clarendon Hall 30. Conway Christian 2. Faith Christian 58. Lawrence Academy 6. Hammond 56. Augusta Christian 13. Holly Hill Academy 56. Charleston Collegiate 12. Lawrence Manning 22. Heathwood Hall 15. PD Academy 34. Pinewood Prep 27. Trinity Collegiate 20. Porter Gouge 7. Wardlaw Academy 42. Oakbrook 40. W.W. King 56. Newberry Academy 16. Hey, it's a pleasure to welcome to the high school scoreboard again, because we've had him in the past. It's been a little while. Head football coach at Richland Northeast. We're talking about the Cavaliers earlier. Coach Walt Wilson up late tonight. I was a little bit hesitant to start calling coaches before I checked, because I figured an off Friday night, how often do they have a Friday night off to relax and not be bothered? But Coach was more than happy to join us tonight to talk about his team's big win the other night over Irmo. Coach, good evening. How are you, sir? Get you right on here in just a second. There you go. Coach, how are you, sir?
Fine. I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
We're good. How are you spending an idle Friday night?
Watching the UCLA and the Washington game.
There you go. You're watching football.
Yeah.
That's understandable. Congratulations on that win over Irmo. And that caught my eye when I was going over the scores because, let's face it, it's been a long climb up for Richland Northeast from where they were. How big a win was this for your program at this stage of your time there?
Well, it's been a huge one. You know, we always talk about that signature win, you know. Basically, let's be honest about it. You know, no one gave us a fighting chance. I mean, you know, but the bottom line is, you know, that's why you play the game. You know, my guys, we played some games this year, and we've been in there, and we just didn't finish, you know. And that's what I told them at halftime. I said, you know, we've been so close. I said, if you want this, don't let it get away.
Your son, the quarterback, had an excellent game, late touchdown run to win it, 117 yards passing, 169 yards rushing. And so I guess you've got the full faith of your offense in him, and let him run the show out there for you.
Well, you know, I wouldn't say that. It's just the bottom line, the kids that, you know, pressure doesn't bother, you know. The good ones, when it's on, they want the ball, you know, and that call, that run was supposed to be a swing pass, but we knew we had one flat defender. That flat defender decided to go to the back. And when he went to the back, he pulled it and took it to the house.
So he knew what to look for. He knew what to read.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, he did. So, you know, and the biggest thing is, you know, my kids, man, I was so proud of them. I was so happy for our community and our school because, you know, it's been a while.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a while. It's been a while. And the thing about it is, you know, the biggest thing you want to do is you want to put a good product on the field, you know, that the community can stand by and just be proud of, you know?
Yeah. Talking to Coach Wilson from Richland Northeast for a couple more minutes. Are you still obviously you're in the building process, but I mean, are you building from the inside out? Do you have a young stream of players who are playing your 8th grade, 9th grade, JV, and kind of working their way in your system towards the high school team?
Well, basically, I'll be honest with you, you know, in the past, before I got there, you know, it's been real down for as the lower level teams, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, and then the COVID didn't help. You know, the COVID year did not help because, you know, the kids basically wasn't in school. So, you know, I don't think they were able to actually get the communication to be a part of the program. So now it's a build from, you know, inside out. But, you know, the guys that I have, I just tell them, you know, Irmo brought about maybe 50, 60 kids, and I think we might have had 37 at the most.
Mm.
You know, but the bottom line is you only put 11 on at one time, and I guarantee you the best 11 be out there. So if you can handle the best 11, you ain't business.
David Shelton from the High School Sports Report's with us. Coach, David, you have a question?
Yeah, well, Walt, I just wanted, you know, I talked to you for many years. We both been doing this for way too long, but you've won a lot of games at different schools, but from what you inherited and to last night, would this be? I mean, it's not a state championship or anything like that, but from where you were, like you said, 2 years ago during COVID to last night, would this kind of maybe be the biggest win or one of the biggest wins of your coaching career?
Well, no, you know, I say this. It has been the biggest win, but it's been the most gratifying win. I can really say that because, you know, like I was telling one of the reporters last night, you know, our kids, you know, we go through a lot during the week, you know, and to see these kids overcome and fight when the only one, I'll be honest with you, that gave us a chance was them, you know, and if you saw that game, you know, we went in down 14-6 and we shut Irmo out the second half. you know,
Wow.
and and I was talking to my DC because he was doing the stats, you know, and he was telling me, you know, they didn't even complete a pass downfield last night. You know, my kids fought, and that's what I'm so proud of, you know, and I just want us to build off that, you know, to start off. And the reason, you know, and I call our region the SEC, you know, and I always tell my kids, we just don't want to be Vanderbilt, you know, and you know, and I'm just gonna be honest with you. I mean, you got Irmo, Florida, Ridgeview, Westwood, you know, and Lugol. Listen, that's one of the best regions in 4A in the state. And you know, and the biggest thing is we put ourselves in a good situation to basically be in the playoffs. And that's the biggest thing, because I always tell my kids, it's 3 parts to a year. It's preseason, region play, and postseason. And you know, one thing that I pride myself on is that I've been a head coach 15 years, and I've been in the playoffs for 14. You know, and I pride myself on that. You know, and I told him last night, the pregame speech, it wasn't no rah-rah. Now, the bottom line is nothing matters in the past right now. This is the only thing that matters. This is what counts. You know, you would love to have a better, you know, preseason record. But guess what? Preseason don't get you in the playoffs. You know, what gets you in the playoffs is region play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and listen, you know, we was blessed, you know, and I thank God and I might have thanked him about 10 times when I woke up this morning, you know, because I said, you know, it was just, it was our night, you know, it was our night when you put together a full game, when you hadn't done it all preseason, you know?
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Who do you draw next week?
It don't get any easier.
Yeah.
We draw 8-4.
Okay.
and you know, and I'm gonna tell you something. This is how we go in it, and I'm gonna be honest with you. We're going to have a great week of practice. We have a great week of practice. We got a chance, and that's the bottom line. My kids just need to understand what it takes to compete. You know, what it takes to compete. And the thing about that is, I always, in the past, told my kids about swagger. See, confidence and cockiness is not swagger. Swagger is when you expect to play well because you prepared well. Once you get your swagger, no one can take it.
Ain't no doubt. And you've always had that, and it looks like it's coming back. Hey, thanks for the visit. Congrats once again. I'm sure we'll be talking to you down the road. We really appreciate it.
Well, you know what? I appreciate it because guess what? You know, it's been a long time since I've been on one of these shows. So guess what? Hey, guess what? We must be looking up a little bit, and I appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. Yay. Thank you. You know, when you're winning, you're going to get the attention. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate it. All right. That's Coach Walt Wilson from Richland Northeast. He sounds like a happy dude. And he's right. I mean, didn't win the state championship or anything, but just respect. When you've been down like they've been, they're just trying to earn some respect. And, boy, they go and beat Flora next week. That will really say something about where they are. But that's going to be one tall task. All right, we'll hit the break, and we'll be back.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at scattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HDTVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
Back we are on the high school scoreboard on this football-less Friday night, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Actual football absent, but plenty of football talk. Great talk, if I must say so myself, as we've gone over all the scores from across the state from Wednesday and Thursday. Just a handful of games still to be played coming up on Monday to complete this week, this first week of region play, primarily the first week of region play across the state. Let's see, David, we touched on Somerville. And by the way, we got Coach Mark Hodge coming up after the break at the bottom of the hour, Spartanburg High coach, talk about the win over Burns. Significant win for that team. So let's see, I think we touched on the low country scores for the most part. We talked about Somerville. We talked about Hanahan. And now Fort Dorchester's playing Monday. Is that right?
That's what we think.
Okay.
They haven't actually announced it, but we think they are going to play.
Like, okay, why haven't they announced? I mean, what else could they do?
Well, that is a really good question because I have been chasing that for the last couple of hours, and I keep getting the district has to decide if they're going to play, and I'm like, why wouldn't they play?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't have any damage here, and it's Ashley Ridge's home game, and Coach Fiddler says the district has to approve them to play. So he thinks they're going to play Monday, but that has not been officially announced. It is the only game. Mm-hmm. It is the only game in South Carolina that has not been officially announced.
Is it related to it being well, I mean, of course, Friday's a school day, but I mean, Monday, I don't know. Does it have anything to do with like just playing on a Monday and the school board might not want them to play on a Monday?
No, school has to be open on Monday. School was closed yesterday.
Okay.
And in Dorchester County. And so they have to announce that school will resume on Monday, and then they are allowed to play. If they, for some reason, decide school's not going to happen Monday, which, again, I don't know why, but you don't know with these districts. We what we went through with COVID, you just don't know what they're thinking sometimes. But as long as they have school, they can play Monday.
Yeah.
So I think what they're waiting on is for the district to decide, yes, we're going to have classes Monday. Then they can schedule the game. But I think it's going to be Monday.
One thing that could be an issue, bus travel, getting the buses out over the roads. Be right back.
From Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that mommy and daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger, from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
With SRN News, I'm Tasha Stevens. A short-term funding bill to keep the government running is waiting for the president's approval. The House passed the measure today, averting a government shutdown with a vote of 230 to 201. The measure extends government funding through December 16th and doles out even more money to Ukraine, while Americans are dealing with record-breaking inflation. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan ripping Russia's announced annexation of some territories in Ukraine, calling it a sham and a flagrant violation of international law. He says new sanctions will be imposed. Thanksgiving's on the way, and so are higher prices for your turkey. The American Farm Bureau Federation says due to inflation, you can expect to pay record high prices at the grocery store. The price of fresh, boneless, skinless turkey breast, about $6.70 a pound right now. That is a 112% increase from last year. This is SRN News.
I've been talking about the people at Stone Interiors from the very beginning. They did the incredible granite counters, the beautiful granite tabletop in my home. Our kitchen is our focal point of our house. The countertops are just gorgeous. When I talk about a local company with tremendous ethics, great workmanship, someone who sees a project through from start to finish, I'm describing Stone Interiors. So have you thought about some granite or marble countertops? What about a backsplash in your kitchen? You want to retile that bathroom? Did you know you can actually go online to stoneinteriors.com, go through their visualizer software, and design your whole kitchen, your whole bathroom project? It is so cool. If that's not for you and you want to visit their showroom, they'd love to have you come out and visit at Stone Interiors, or they can even come to you when it's convenient. For more than 20 years, Stone Interiors has done this thing the right way. Call them, 461-8950 to make an appointment, or visit them at stoneinteriors.com. That's 461-8950 or stoneinteriors.com.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Fran Halloran here. Now listen closely to what I'm about to say. I'm a business owner, and many of you listening right now, you're business owners as well. The first rule in owning a business is this: don't waste money. I see business owners waste their marketing dollars all the time. Not me. I figured out a long time ago, 8 years ago to be exact, that spending my marketing dollars at the point was not only intentional, but extremely profitable as well. If you're a small business owner, you owe it to yourself to sit down with Kevin Cohen and ask him to create a custom marketing plan for your business. He's looking for folks just like you who believe in local, to partner with him in 2022 and beyond. Trust me when I tell you, partnering with The Point works. You will see results and your marketing budget will no longer be wasted. Give Kev a call at 803-563-8558 and tell him the Money Coach sent you.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, so can you find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Rolling along here on Football Scoreboard on this Friday night. Phil Kornblut, David Shelton, J.P. Barry. We bring you high school football scores even when there aren't any games being played. But plenty of games were played Wednesday and Thursday. We've gone over all the scores. We've analyzed many of them, talking to some coaches now. Happy coaches, unhappy coaches wouldn't take our call tonight. Only happy coaches would. I got to believe one of the happiest coaches in the state the other night, Mark Hodge at Spartanburg High School, because they got a very nice win over Burns, 36-23. And, I mean, the rivalry up there among those schools, Spartanburg, Gaffney, Burns, Dorman, whenever you can beat the other guy, that's cause for celebration. And Coach is with us. Hey, Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm blessed. How are you guys tonight?
We're doing great. Thank you for taking time out to be with us. That's your old center, birthday boy that put the phone call into you.
That's all right. Happy birthday. It was great to hear from him. I was not expecting to hear from him. So that was a pleasant surprise.
Could he snap the ball worth a hoot?
Oh, yeah, he's a great kid. I got tickled because he always loved the gold pants, and we had gold pants on the other night, and I actually thought about him. So.
That's great. That is great. That is great. Well, I don't think you understand. If people know what it's like up there, you don't understate a win in amongst those teams when one beats the other, right? Beating Burns is always a special deal.
Oh, absolutely. The coaches and the communities and the traditions of these schools is top notch in the state. And, to ever be able to, beat one of those guys is super special. And, our big thing is getting to the playoffs, and the only way to get to the playoffs is win region games. And when you've got the region schedule we got, all those wins are priceless.
Oh, no question about it. What, as you see it, were a few of the keys for your team in winning that game?
Well, I think we handled adversity really well. Game kind of started out spastic. We quick kicked and kicked it into the back of our running back, and they got the ball, and they fumbled right back to us, and then we missed a field goal, and then they went down and scored. So it was real chaotic early. And I thought our kids handled it well, and we settled in and took the lead, and then we jacked up an opportunity to score right before halftime, and then they tied it up first possession, second half, but we never flinched. And I thought our seniors who have played 2 or 3 years did a really good job of pulling our young kids and our first-year starters kind of through the chaos. I was probably most proud about that. And we fought for each other, and we actually celebrated for each other. So we're starting to kind of really put ourselves together as a team now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you now. I mean, you're still, pretty early in your time at Spartan High in your building process. But, I mean, are you pleased with where you are now in the progress of kind of rebuilding this program in your own image?
We are. It's been super stressful, to be honest with you, this year. We're putting in a lot of things, putting in a youth program and taking next steps in our refinement program and moving that into the middle school. And the first 3 games were all delayed for weather, and we played some huge opponents out of state. And my son is a freshman now at Clemson, and him going to school, that took a huge toll on me as well. So there's a lot going on. It was real stressful. But our kids have been with us we're 2.5 years in now. Those kids have been with us the whole time. It's phenomenal where they've come to from our standards of academics and dress and professionalism and just character and all those things is huge. And their buy-in is really helping us put all these other things in play with our younger kids. So I'm super, proud of those guys and what they've done in a short amount of time, and done all this through chaos and pandemics and everything else. So it's really a understatement to say how proud I am of them.
Absolutely. David Shelton's with us, Coach. David, you have a question or two for Coach Hodge?
Yeah, Mark. You mentioned that early schedule and the weather delays and all that stuff and the tough teams that you played and a lot of adversity in those first 3 or 4 games. Could you see that maturation process last night against Burns? You mentioned the adversity in the game and you handled it well. I mean, you really are in this sport kind of the sum of all your experiences, aren't you? And that kind of early experiences may have helped you last night.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of adversity we ran into that was unscripted that we didn't know about. We knew we were going to play really good teams, and I feel the best way to improve is to play great teams and play in the Graysons and teams, Dutch Forts, teams like that. Every kid on the field has to play at a high level, but you threw into travel and you threw into storms and lightning delays and all the other things going on. It forced us to face things that we really hadn't planned for as well. And my staff did a great job. The kids did a great job. And again, our seniors did a great job of holding things together. And I felt like in all those situations, regardless of the score, we left better than we showed up. And I felt like we were always better in the second half than we were the first half. And I think that helped, build confidence and camaraderie, because last night we were again better in the second half than we were the first half, and ultimately that led to us winning.
Follow up, David?
No, that's good.
Coach, what's going on with your quarterback situation?
Raheem is fabulous. I've been blessed to coach some phenomenal kids, and he is at the very top of the list. The things that he's done, to the sacrifices he's made to reach his goals, and he's just an unbelievable child, and just a blessing to be around. And he's not just changing the culture of our program, but even our community. And I'm just blessed every day to get to go with him. And he's got a couple of seniors with him, with Drake at running back and Quay and Andrew Denton at receiver, and those guys are really performing at a high level, but also preparing at a high level. So, you talk about blessings that you didn't know about when God moves you places, and Raheem Jeter and those kids I just mentioned are for sure some of them, and just thankful that he's on our team.
Yeah. Now, if I can ask a little bit about what's going on with him recruiting-wise, he was committed to West Virginia at one time a while back, but I haven't heard all that much since then. What seems to be working for him recruiting-wise at this point?
He's still got a lot of things going on. West Virginia and East Carolina, and Temple and some other places, Rutgers, places like that. And West Virginia changed coordinators after his commitment there. So he's just praying through everything and making sure it's the right fit. East Carolina has been really high on the radar, and a couple other places. And I've been proud of him that he's not rushing. I think he's lots going on with him this spring through the the little chaos that he encountered, and stuff's so unfair for a 17-year-old to deal with. But
yeah,
I firmly believe that just God's using that to prepare him to be able to handle chaoses in the future. And he handled really well, and he's being patient, and he's trying to make sure he's where he fits and where God wants him to be. And so it's just a lot of little things that he does that if anybody's paying attention, like he's doing everything right. And it just makes it so much easier for me when your best players are doing things the right way.
Sure. Have you had much contact with your former Chapman standout since he went to USC, DJ Twitty?
I have. I talked to all those guys. I actually got 5 kids at South Carolina right now. Ben Rollins, DJ Twitty, Andrew Calisardo, Williams there is kicking, and Ben Rollins is there, and then DJ Black, another receiver from Chapman. So we actually went to their first game and got to see some of those guys then, and they're really enjoying everything Coach Beamer's doing. And I've got to see him a few times because doing some Shrine Bowl stuff at South Carolina as well. And so I'm super happy for those guys that they're enjoying their experience and all that's going on there right now.
Yeah. You guys ever hear from Debo?
Yeah, Debo's my son. Hear from him pretty regularly. It's been kind of funny because last couple of times I talked to him twice last week. Both times I was dealing with some kids not making great decisions, and it was cool because he quickly spoke up on our behalf and just reminded them that we love them and care about them, and their best interest is at heart, and to trust the system and the process. And so, guys like him and DJ Moore works with me now, another former pro player that we coach, and it's just great for those guys to come in and validate and support the things that we're trying to do. And but yeah, we keep up with Debo pretty regularly.
Yeah, I'm not claiming to be a pro scout or anything, but I do remember saying on our show when he came out of South Carolina and wasn't picked in the first round, and I just said, if you don't pick Debo Samuel in the first round, I mean, you're just crazy. If you need a receiver or somebody like him and you don't pick him, you're just crazy. And, of course, he slipped to the 49ers. I mean, I got to believe that you, amongst many others, are not at all surprised about how great he's become as an NFL player.
No, not at all. The thing that I'm having the most fun with and most excited about is the rest of the world's getting to see his heart and his personality. Like, he's always been very caring and he's very smart, very intelligent young man. And even in high school, he would come off the field and recognize things that was going on and have recommendations or things of, if I do this, somebody else will be open, or if I do this, somebody else can score. So he's very unselfish, always has been. And so it's great for me to hear other people recognizing those things and hearing people just, talk about who he is as a person as much as a football player.
Well, he's
Super proud of him as a dad too. Now he's doing really, really well with his young son, and just, I can't say enough about him either.
Well, he's done very well for himself out there. As a Packer fan, he took us apart in the playoffs a couple of years ago. Wasn't happy about that. So,
I got a great story about that. If you got a few seconds.
You'll go right ahead. Yeah.
We my two sons and I, Caleb and Joshua, went up to it. We took a road trip. We went through Louisville, up through Notre Dame, through Chicago, all the way up to Green Bay, and stayed with those guys in the hotel. And it was about 5 hours before kickoff, and the four of us were sitting in a restaurant downtown Green Bay eating, and a couple people looked in like, nah, that can't be them. And but he ended up getting us sideline passes, and he got my two sons out on Lambeau to throw the ball before the game.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was a pretty awesome experience, and just tells you the kind of kid he is, and he's thinking about basically his two brothers, not real brothers, but brothers of our family, and
sure,
as they're about to play a playoff game. So he's just a fabulous kid. So it's great opportunity and memories that he let me make with my kids.
That's fantastic. Coach, thank you so much for staying up with us, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. And good luck next week. Who do you guys have?
I'll get to go to Gaffney next week. Get to go see Coach Jones and those guys. So, it doesn't get any easier, but it's fun. I mean, it's great people, great program.
No doubt.
So excited to get to prepare for them. And at the same time, just want everybody to know that, got everybody in the coastal region in our thoughts and prayers. We're keeping up with some of those. Got lots of friends down there too. And, whatever we can do for Spartanburg High School to help down there, just please reach out and let us.
One more quick question before I let you go. It was announced, I think earlier this week. My days are all messed up. Maybe it was last week. Yeah, it was last week. Shrine Bowl's going to be played, but they're going to play it at your place at Spartanburg High School. How did it end up coming to your place to play the game?
Well, I think the contracts had kind of ended with Walford, and there was some things going on with just some contractual things of that nature. And I'm on staff there, and they actually practiced at Spartanburg the last few years, so it just kind of made sense, logistical sense to play the game there. It's both teams already housed there during the week and things of that nature, and then being a part of the staff as well, it just made it simple to play there, and it just worked out logistically and financially. And so we're super excited to to host it and let the rest of the world see our facilities and the things that we're blessed with at Spartanburg. And our administration will do a great job helping the Shrine Bowl put on a first class opportunity. We're super excited to get that game back too. It's the marquee all-star game maybe in the country, and we're had a lot of fun working on it, and look forward to getting it back in play.
Fantastic, Coach. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again.
Thank you, guys. God bless, and go Vikings.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mark Hodge from Spartanburg. David, I mean, no doubt he'll continue to grow it and build it at Spartanburg like he did at Chapman.
Oh yeah, I don't have any doubt. And I said the day they hired him at Spartanburg that he was going to do this. And it's not done yet. I mean, he has a team. I in my preseason stuff, I picked them, as one of the two or three teams I thought would win the upper state, because again, you have a quarterback, and when you have a quarterback at that level, you can win a lot of games. But they also have a really good running back. They have good receivers. Their defense has given up some points, but they've scored a lot of points. But like I said, I mean, that region, I mean, they still got Gaffney and Dorman ahead. So, I mean, they could easily lose 2 more games. But I think that early season schedule that they played, those out-of-state teams and Dutch Fork, which they really had beat until the last play of the game. I think this is going to help Spartanburg down the road. They're battle tested for sure.
Well, thanks to Coach Hodge for being with us, and I'm sure he enjoyed talking to JP there for a couple of minutes when he got him on the phone. His former center. Centers and coaches, they have a special bond, I think, because let's face it, there's only 2 people that touch the football on any given play, and that's the center and the quarterback most of the time, unless you're snapping it to a wildcat or something like that. All right, we'll hit the break and come back and give you the final few minutes tonight here on the High School Scoreboard, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union.
Score a touchdown with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Relax with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
Life insurance isn't for you. It's for those you love the most. For a complete insurance review, call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, serving Lawrence, Clinton, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
When your day calls for some winning, why not watch your favorite football team at Dave & Buster's? We've got massive HD TVs and hundreds of the hottest new games. Sip from our chef-crafted cocktail menu with exclusive drinks such as the Strawberry Watermelon Margarita or Dangerous Waters. Cheer on the team with Cantina Nachos or wings featuring one of our 12 wing flavors. When your day calls for some winning, it's time for Dave & Buster's, where you can watch the games and play the games. Locations in Greenville, Columbia, and Myrtle Beach.
JP, did you have a good time in Chapel Hill last week watching Notre Dame beat up on North Carolina? I know you did. Knew that was going to happen. North Carolina's got no defense. Not a one. That was a great story, David, that Coach Hodge told. It reminded me of my story going to a Packers game. Long story short, me and a buddy were going up because another guy, a buddy of his, told us that he'd have tickets for us. That he knew somebody on the staff and would provide us with tickets, and he couldn't go, but he'd take care of us. And la-di-dee, la-di-da, we make the trip. We fly from Columbia to Pittsburgh, Chicago. We drive to Green Bay. Packers are playing Dallas that day, and we got there an hour before and parked amongst the Packer fans. It was fantastic. Walked through the tailgates and smelled the brats and everything else, and walked up to the ticket window, and he gave him his name, and I'm sitting there and watching everything, and it's sort of like a car accident in slow motion. The person was looking down, and he looked up like in slow motion and said, "What was your name again?" And when he said that, my heart just sank. It just sank. They had no tickets. And the person who was apparently on the staff who was supposed to supply the tickets knew nothing about it. And we went all the way to Green Bay and did not get in. We went to Brett Favre's Steakhouse, which was around the corner, and watched the game on television. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah. And
I would have.
We swore
Somebody would have took a butt cut.
Well, we swore we would never tell anybody the truth. And so we get home, came back on that Monday, and my mouthy 13-year-old son wanted to look at some pictures. So I showed him pictures of the two. We took selfies inside. We did go inside Lambeau after the game. Everybody was walking out, and we were walking in. This is true now. It's trash everywhere. But we were going to go in the stadium, and we took pictures of ourselves. Of course, my son's like, why is there nobody in the stadium? And so I had to spill the beans at that point.
Who won the game?
Green Bay. Yeah, killed him. Favre was quarterbacking. Yeah, beat him bad. Standing outside, I heard the crowd go crazy. The Packers scored early, big play, and crowd's going crazy. I begged. We went to every entrance, and we just begged. And we told them our story, and they just laughed at us. One guy said, buddy, we had people trying to get in here from all over the country. You ain't getting in without a ticket. Then there was a lady who came out with her husband who was sick, and she handed us her stubs and said, here, go take our seats. And so he said, great. And we went running up in there, and the guy stopped us. He said, you got to have the real ticket. I said, oh, wow. Man, come on. They're leaving. And, nope, can't let you in. And I'm like, great. Great.
You know, while you were there, I mean, that's worth getting arrested over. You should have just went off.
Just blown my way in there, gotten on television.
Yeah.
Run onto the field.
Yeah. Run onto the field, run across, and you know what?
Take off my shirt.
$250 fine, and you get home, and then everybody would have known you were there.
Spend the night in the Green Bay jail. That would have been just fantastic. David, first of all, we didn't have a chance to talk about you and your project. You want to say a little something here in the next 90 seconds?
Well, I didn't have anything this week. I've got a couple of speeches coming up at Lucy Beckham and First Baptist next week or in 2 weeks. And then I'm also working on a situation at Broome that I'm going to go to. And I'm speaking to a teachers group, science teachers group. They're having a big conference down here in Charleston at the end of the month, and I've been asked to speak to them. So it's going good, but anybody want me to come speak, oneteamonecause.com, fill out the little email thing, and we'll set something up. I don't ever turn anybody down.
You know, it just dawned on me, and I'm sure we can make this happen. It would be a great opportunity for you to speak to the teams at the Touchstone Energy Bowl and the Shrine Bowl when those teams come together.
Well, I would certainly do it.
Well, I think we should try to make that happen. And I think
I would certainly do it.
Certainly try to do that. David, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun considering we had 2 hours of no new football scores, but we had a lot of fun. And I thank the folks that called in. Thanks to our affiliates. Thanks to Founders Federal Credit Union. And thanks to those of you who tuned in. Really appreciate it. David, have a great weekend. We'll do it for real next week.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, buddy. And thank you, J.P. Barry, the 20-year-old. Go out now, have some fun, man, on your birthday. Well, you've got 1 minute to go, and then your birthday's over. So you can celebrate it here in the next 45 seconds. But thank you for your great work. Appreciate it very much. And we have had a great time tonight here on the High School Football Scoreboard. Back at it next week. Hopefully everything is back on schedule. And we'll have the second big week of region play around the state of South Carolina. We'll be right here to bring it all to you here on the Founders Federal High School Football Scoreboard on the Sports Talk Media Network. Have a great night and a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for being with us.
Weekdays from 7 to 9 on The Point. It's Kev and Brian in the morning. The news, the traffic 4 times an hour.